Hello and welcome to Autistic Spectrum Disorder. My name is Fay and I am autistic. Today I'm going to be talking about autistic self-harm behaviours like headbanging and hitting yourself. I have been diagnosed for less than a year, so this is very much information seeking and self-discovery, and hoping to learn more about this from other members of the autistic community. Whilst I have engaged in this behaviour, I don't understand it myself, and the resources that I've looked to only seem to talk about it in children. There's very little input from people who are actually autistic. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is things that I learned from watching another video on YouTube. That video is called Self-Injurious Behaviour, Recorded Q&A with Dr. Lauren Moskowitz. A link to that video will be turning up in this video now, and I'll also leave it in the description down below. Even though Dr. Moskowitz is talking about children, I found much of what she said understandable and relatable. Pre-diagnosis, I would never have talked about this to anyone. I first started manifesting this in my teenage years, and now it happens very, very rarely, usually in some extreme circumstance. I was always told that it was bad and wrong. I was punished for it, and I've been in denial to myself and others for a long time. I feel embarrassed and ashamed when this happens to me. As a result, the way I've coped with it is to try and hide and deny the fact that it even happens. It never even occurred to me to ask why. Surely I should know why I am doing it. To be clear, I'm talking about hitting myself and banging my head against the wall during a meltdown. So Dr. Moskowitz says there are 4 main reasons for this behaviour, which I will now summarise. The first one is sensory issues or some internal problem, i.e. physical or psychological pain. Apparently this is a popular explanations that parents often leap to, but it's actually relatively rare, occurring in approximately 1 in 4 autistic children. A second, more common reason is what they like to call demand avoidance, i.e. I don't want to do the thing. I think it's important to recognise that adult or child, they may have a perfectly valid reason to not want to do the thing, such as struggling with a task far more so than their neurotypical peers. There's also some crossover with the previous reason here, because autistic people, or anyone really, might be more demand avoidant if they're fatigued or in some kind of physical discomfort. So migraine was brought up, gastrointestinal difficulties, or menstrual cramps in teenage girls. Reason 3 is to get something from someone. And here we get a little bit of demonization. The autistic child is trying to manipulate its parents to get power over them and make its own choices. But if a baby cries because they're hungry, does that mean they're trying to manipulate you? Should you let them starve so that they know who's boss? Many of the examples given in this trying to get something category was actually of children trying to get away from a situation. So loud noises, for example. And the 4th reason is doing it for attention. My parents thought it was attention seeking, so completely ignored it. I am very, very sure that it wasn't. And the reason I can say that it wasn't this, for me, is that I've always gone away from people and I never wanted them to know that I was even doing it. But that's me, and some autistic people might do it for attention. I can't say for sure. I am definitely not a doctor. But I'm also sure that if your experience is of repeatedly failing at everything you're trying to do, and if the only time you get love and hugs is when you're screaming and hitting your head against a wall, then maybe you figure that's what you've got to do. I personally really don't feel like I have a lot of control over my meltdowns, which is the only context in which I personally have hit myself or banged my head against a wall. So I rail a bit against the impression that this is a conscious decision. So whichever of these reasons it is, I'd go for it being a subconscious, instinctual reaction, not a choice. But another autistic person might have a completely different experience. Remember, folks, when you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. Dr. Moskowitz also says that the reasons will be signalled by a pattern of behaviour. And I'm definitely one of those autistic people who love order, who love repetition, who love patterns. So this is probably true. But she also said that this pattern of behaviour is usually easier for an outsider to recognise. Certainly, I'm in no fit state in the middle of a meltdown to analyse my own behaviour. I would love to get other people's perspectives on this, particularly autistic adults. Do you bang your head? Do you hit yourself? What are you thinking while you're doing it? Do you know why you're doing it? As for me, well, I kinda don't. From what I've learned and thinking back upon my experiences, it seems to happen when I'm in a distressing situation that I can see no escape from. This distress is sometimes sensory overwhelm, particularly with a nice trifecta of strong smells, loud noises and bright lights all at once. This behaviour first started to show up for me in my teenage years, around the same time that my period showed up and my migraines. So it could be a case of physical discomfort just pushing me over the edge. I also remember doing it in response to depression and a never-ending negativity thought spiral that I just wanted to stop. And it may seem weird to people that a response to pain could be to headbang or hit yourself, possibly inflicting more pain. But if someone else is playing loud, obnoxious music, sometimes your response is to turn up your music even louder. So it could be a subconscious attempt to drown out the pain. This is all rather theoretical. What do you think? I personally never feel in control in this state. I know that it could be dangerous. I really don't see how it could be helpful or make anything better. I would not choose to do this. So, with that in mind, is it self-harm? Someone asked me this. I'm inclined to say no, because that suggests a choice. But I'm also not sure I really understand self-harm. Could it be that this behaviour creates endorphins that help with the meltdown? I don't know. Maybe. It is behaviour which I do to myself, which has the potential of causing me harm. What do you think? And if it is, are there therapies, good therapies, out there to help? Generally, how I deal is to just avoid any situations where I might get overwhelmed. Perhaps I'm just a tomorrow person who's trying to break out. According to pop culture, I should definitely have got my superpowers by now. That's all for now, and if you'd like to have more videos like this, do hit the subscribe button.